everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is your girl Serena, Vibes Cartelisha. Well, guess what? Welcome, it's 2023. It's a new year, new attitude, new vibes, new lifestyle. But more than that, we're taking a new mindset. This is called Psychology at Work and Play. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And I know we're going to be talking a lot of interesting conversation. We're talking about sex and intimacy. We talk about, how we view life and everyday settings. And guess what? If you like, I want you to subscribe. And I want you to click the like button at the end down below. And guess what? I'm happy to see you all. Welcome to Psychology at Work and Play. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. So today we're going to be talking a very interesting topic. We're going to be looking at the whole idea of what we call it vision boarding. A lot of people have been into this whole vision boarding. And, this is a process where you look at what you want for yourself for the future, creating a vision of where you're heading. And this usually is the time of year where people do their vision board. So if you're looking in a future where, you're going to be expanding your knowledge, you're going to be taking on maybe college, university, you want to look at expanding your education. Then you want to also look at maybe owning a car, owning a house. These are major milestones that people usually come together and put together. And so there's a process where people go through. You create this board. Some people do it digitally, where you go on the computer, you create your page, and you clip pictures from the clip arts and online, and you put it in it, and then it depicts whatever it is that you plan to do for your future. So if you want a house, you maybe cut a picture from somewhere of a nice house and you place it there, and you give yourself timelines, and you create all of these nice things. And you can also get regular board. Some people just get their regular board and cut their items from magazines and articles from different stuff. And then what they do is put it on that board. You keep it at a strategic place in your house, maybe your living room, maybe your bedroom, to show you all of these goals that you're working towards. But I have a very interesting story with regards to that. It nowadays seems like vision boarding is just a today's thing. It has existed forever, guys. Yes, it existed a long time ago. And I'm going to tell you a story that came from 1960 to now. And I am just blown away by it. So we may think that in 1960 vision boarding wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing. Maybe it wasn't calling vision board. It maybe was just talking about desires, what people really want for themselves and so on. So my dad, very interesting man. He, not one of those persons who went to high school, went to school at all. I mean, he was always, on the road doing stuff, doing manual labor and stuff. He had my mother, and trust me, they were very busy making children. So my parents had 10 children, all little small ones. Every year, like there was another baby coming. That's how good my parents were. They were very busy. And that's why maybe I love talk about sex and all of the intimacy so much, because I realized that it existed in my family for many, 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 many years, right? And so my sisters and everybody there are aware of that intimacy within my household. So that's a big thing. That's for another conversation. But my father was always busy doing his little labor here and little things there and little things there, just to make some money so my mother could be happy and take care of all of those kids. So I am learning, because I'm the second to last of 10 children. So, I got the story late. By then I wasn't even in existence. They never even thought of me, because at some point they got to my older brother and decided they were going to take a break. But somehow the sex became sweet and they continued. So my father started his vision boarding from those times. And what he did, he has always wanted a cow. As a young boy, he always wanted a cow. He says, in order to make sister live better, so people won't talk about her, because they used to talk about how she have a picnic in the community and all of that. Kete children, small children. So he wanted to take away all of that stigma and discrimination from his life and her life and their own existence. And so what he did, he always wanted to own a cow. And what he did, the first thing he did in his vision boarding from 1960 was to buy a piece of rope. Yes, that's what I said. He bought a pound of rope. And he had it all rolled up and he put it up on one nail in the board house that they lived in at the time. Yes. And he had that, and every day he would go out and work and he would come back in and he would look on that rope and said, one day I'm going to own a cow. Coincidentally, the primary school was nearby, and in those days you usually have the agriculture classes and so on, and so they bought a cow. So the school owned the cow. They had it there, sometimes nobody's there to take care of it. It's just like an agricultural project for the school. And so the cow was always tied up. Children on breaks time would go and throw stones, and hit the cow. They would not move the cow from one location to another so the cow could have its grass and could grow and look well. So the cow really looked tired. We call it in Jamaica wishy-washy. Lost weight, sides sinking in and all of those things, and really wasn't looking good. But my father at that time came up with the brilliant idea that I am going to speak with headmaster to see if I can get that cow to buy. Everybody thought he was crazy. So when he approached the headmaster, I'm interested in buying this cow. I see the cow out there, nobody taking care of the cow. And, I would really like to take him off your hand and give you, pay you for him. Headmaster laughed and said, you sure you want that little cow out there? What you going to do with that cow? That's not going to be any value to you right now. So you think that's a good idea? He said, yes, I will take my chance with that cow. Headmaster said, okay, well, if you're willing and you know what you're doing, then I can sell you the cow. I can't remember how much he paid for that cow, but he got it on a good price. And my dad took that cow, and there was a piece of property that he leased in the country where we lived. And we called down that gully Lemmy. He planted bananas and lots of crops was planted down there. And, the children would carry banana on their heads and everything, come to the main road to get them to the market and so on. So it was really a deep gully, about 2 or 3 miles down. And my dad took that cow and brought that cow down in that gully. Yeah? Brought that cow down in that gully. And you know what happened? He gave that cow nowadays in the agriculture field, you have all kind of things that you give the animals to get them purged and everything. Well, my dad went to the shop. They usually sell salted mackerel, and it is packed in salt. It's the heavy salt grains are packed in there to preserve it. My father bought a bucket with whatever salt is left after the mackerel has been sold. And he took it, he mixed it with the grass, and he mixed it, and he gave the cow something to purge him and all of that. And the cow, with all of that salt, it allows the cow to drink excess water. So the cow eats the grass, nice green grass running by the river, and then he would give the cow more salt, and with the salt, the cow will drink a lot of water. So the grass is growing, cow is drinking the water, and before long, this one cow called Bull, cow was ready for mating. It was mating season, and so he brought the cow from down in the gully hole up on the main road where somebody has had a cow, a bull. So he brought his cow up to take bull, and I tell you, on that day when everybody saw that wishy-washy, maga-looking cow, they were blown away because my dad knew his vision board had to come to life. He had to bring all of this into reality and into being. And so my dad got that cow mated, and that cow dropped a bull calf. The next trip around, that cow dropped another calf, and the cow keep giving calves and giving calves, years and years and years. My father built a business with cows from that vision that he had, that he wanted a cow. And he bought that piece of rope, hung it in the house. Maybe for years he's been looking at it to say, I am going to own a cow. But you know what? He did. I can remember my father having up to at least 40 cows, heads of cows, cows. That was just one of his dreams. He lived in a little board house. And you know, those days we didn't have much picture frames or anything on the wall. But he had a picture of a little red buggy car because he says he wanted to own a car also. And so he had a picture of that little buggy on the house, on the board. We call it boarding up from country days. He had a picture of the house, of a little board house, of a nice little house. And he also had a picture of a little red buggy car. Because he wanted a house and he also wanted a car. How could my father in those days have a car and everybody else have a little donkey, and only certain people have like a one truck that would come to the area? He would go on trucks, work with people on trucks, you know, do the little sideman work and everything. But he knew he wanted a car. He wanted a transportation of some sort. And so what my dad did, he called to one of my aunts who was living overseas at the time. That's my mother's sister. Can you send me an invitation, because I really want to come a foreign country, see if we can make some money, want a vacation. And so my aunt sent him an invitation. He took that invitation and he went to the embassy in Kingston. He was granted the visa, and so he went on a trip. From the moment he dropped in the USA, he started hustling. My aunt didn't understand what was happening, but she felt that when she left and gone to work, he was supposed to stay home and enjoy the vacation from home until they were able to take him around. My dad had a vision. He wanted to go back and buy himself a car. He had himself a car in his vision, and he was working and doing everything towards getting this car. So eventually, my aunt realized that he had to go out, and so he started going out. He worked. Remember, when you get a visa, you only can spend 6 months in the country. My dad spent 6 months in the US and went over 2 months later. He stayed in the US for 8 months. And when he went, when he got to the 8th month, he said, okay, it's time for me to go home. I have a little money. I can take home this money to sister and the children because I need to get this done. So he started to figure out how he was going to, you know, get this, the consulate and everybody to be lenient with him for overstaying. So he got very smart. He was a very smart person. So what he did, he found the consulate and he explained to them that he came on vacation and he got lost in the country. He didn't even know where he was. He wants to go home and he doesn't even know how. That's my dad. And so the consulate said, okay, they gave him directions and tell him where he could go and all of that. And then my dad decided he was going to take it from there. Hear the rest of the story. So the consulate gave him 1 week to get out of the country. How much time they gave him? 1 week. Now, instead of my dad start packing his little bags and everything, my dad went straight back to work because he thought they were going to send him home immediately. they gave him 1 week to leave the country. My dad worked that 1 week. Can I tell you something? While he was working and preparing to go home, there were many challenges taking place at home. And this is another important thing that I want us to look at in your dreams, in your quest to improve your life. Not everybody is going to be with you. The very people who are supposed to be around you, who are supposed to be your support system, they are dangerous people. So be careful of who your friends are. So while my dad was in the US, what he did was he left a young man at the house to say, okay, I'm going to ask you to take care of the cows for me, go down and move the cows, take care of the bananas that I have and all of that. And, I will take care of things for you. So make sure that my wife isn't stressed out and the children who are so small, they don't know how to do this. I'm leaving you in charge. And this was somebody who was close to him, but somebody who also he was considered paying or compensating some way for doing that work. But then he had his best friend who he always says to his best friend, I'm going to go overseas, I'm going to work and I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to come back and I'm going to buy a car or I'm going to buy a truck. And when he left, that best friend turned to this young man who he left in charge of his business and encouraged him, go down. And when you go down, the young banana suckers, the suckers are the little young ones that keep popping up. So when the banana shoots, the young ones would stay in the roots of the banana plant. And then they also grow and shoot banana and beer and everything. This best friend told this young man, when you go down, go through the whole farm and make sure you chop out all the young ones. That means nothing will be coming. When he comes back here, he'll have nothing. Yeah. And what he also told this young man is that make sure you don't tie the cows properly. So the cows can go out and go to other people's farms and damage the farms and everything. That means whenever he comes back here, the money that he will take back will have to pay for roast and boil. It means that the money he takes back will have to pay for the damages that the cows would have caused while he was away. That was the work of his best friend. And this young man who was young, thought they were friends, thought he was just doing something and he didn't think much of it. But it was really in a quest to destroy my father's dreams, my father's vision. They didn't want it to happen. They felt it was all of those dreams were too much for him because he already owned the cows, right? And then he wanted to go further. How dare you want to go further when we don't even have anything for ourselves? So it's not everybody who you work with or you're with will also support your vision. No, not everybody will support your vision. So you have to be careful of your surroundings, your circle of friends. And sometimes even family members will not be kind to you either. Okay? So that is the reality. God so have it that there were other people who respected my father and they gave him high ratings because he's a young man and he's always working, always looking out for ways to improve himself and his family, right? So people always look out for him. And so in doing that, some people will find the cows all the way from St. James, Jamaica. The cows would travel all the way down to Trelawney and they would lead the cows back up to give it to my poor mom. My mother had a hard time. My mother said, Roy, you need to come home now. You need to come home now because it's really getting very hard. It's getting so hard. And I need you to come home right now. And so takes us back now to my dad. Worked all the way up to the night when he was to leave the US. The morning he came back with 2 nice big suitcases packed with little goodies inside here for the kids. He was not able to buy no more because he had a plan for the money. So he came home with that money. He came home with 2 suitcases. And of course, he came home with a trunk. In those days, we call it a trunk. A trunk was like a big 4-corner thing, quite heavy. I tell you something, that also became a bed for the boys, right? It became a bed for the boys. They were sleeping on top of it while things are stored inside of it. Life was really, really rough. But you know something? I recognized the efforts of my dad. And so all the children became successful, every one of us, because we're able to plan our lives and to make our lives successful because our dad was a visionary. He saw the visions for his future and for our future, and he worked towards it. So my dad went home with his little money, felt good, took care of all the little challenges that were there, but he still had a little piece of money left. So one day, he went down to Montego Bay to find there was this man who owned like a car mart. My dad went down, stood it at one side and was looking on and was like looking on the truck. So the owner for the property came and said, "Young man, can I help you?" He says, "Yes, you can." He says, "How can I help you?" He said, "I want to buy a truck, you know." The man said, "You have money?" And my dad said, "Yes, I have some money." The man said, "Okay, come on inside." Treated him like a real businessman. So the businessman said, they took him inside and they started talking. I mean, he looked at the money. It was something like you say, $5,000. He looked at it, he took it and he looked at it and he laughed and he said, "Young man, this money can't buy a truck, you know. Can't buy a truck at all. But I tell you, I'm going to respect you for even coming forward, for saving your money and coming forward with a dream plan. I am going to do something for you that I've never done for any other client." He says, "Come with me." He got in his vehicle, took my dad with him, and they went to Scotia Bank in Jamaica, Montego Bay. And when they got to Scotia Bank, he was so important in those times that he didn't stop at the front of the bank like other people. He just went through straight around to the back to speak with the manager. And my dad was in tow, like a dry foot boy, in tow with this man in a bank. He went in, they took a seat, and this man explained to the banker that, "Listen, this young man, I see great potential in this man." And he came, explained that he has some money and he wants to buy a van or a truck. But the money that he has is just enough for the down payment. I am going to take a risk on this man. I am going to co-sign a loan for him. I want you to set up an account for him. Teach him about banking, how he's to, put some money in the account, paying his loan and all of those things. And give me some of the money that I can take for the down payment. Give me the loan, give him the loan that he can get his truck so he can go on home, work that truck and pay his monthly payment. And so my dad did. Believe you me, that very day he went to that place, the very same day, he was given a little minivan. He wanted a truck, but that's all right. The money couldn't buy it. He wanted a car first as a part of his dream. He didn't get a car, but he knows that he'll have to work to pay for it. Cars came later. My dad used that van. He got it the very same day he went to the bank. He was educated how to be a banker, how to save his money, And he took great pride. That very evening, he drove that van to Maroon Town, where we're from. That was the greatest achievement anyone could make in our community, to have a transportation. From I was a child, we were driving around in motor vehicles because my dad made a vision, saw a vision, acted on his vision, and then there he was, living that vision with his children and his wife. And so, taking the story a little further, my mother felt so proud. Every month the bank statements would come, the bank congratulating him for making his payments. He made all the payments. The loan was finished. And you know what happened? When that loan was finished, my father went down to the bank, went and sat with the bank manager, take out his own loan, and was able to sign for himself and go and bought himself a bigger truck. He used that truck, that smaller one, and he packed it with banana and packed it with all kind of things. Going to Montego Bay's market to sell and made that payment every month, concluded that banking arrangement and was able to go back. My dad bought many cars. Yeah. That was the beginning of his dream. He bought a van. He went back, he bought a truck. He bought a car for my mom. My mom never learned to drive. The first day she got in that car to drive it, it went up on a hill and almost fell over. And my mother did not go back around that steering ever. In fact, those days, my women were not so much into things. So my dad taught my brothers how to drive. My sisters and my mother didn't learn. But my sister was so smart, my biggest sister, she was so smart that she took the book and read the book about driving and took that car that was bought for my mother and drove that car. My sister did that. So, and my sister would have owned many cars since. So we are from a family where a vision, a small seed can be planted and materialized and multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. Okay? We are dreamers. And we are not dreamers, we are also doers. I was looking at something and one person said, are you a dabbler or you're a doer? We are doers. Okay? My father became one of the most well-off persons in my community. He had cows, he had vehicles, trucks, buses. He owned all of those. And my father in his lifetime made 4 houses. 4 houses my father made because it started with a vision, 1960. All of those visions were put to test. So here's what I'm saying to you. If my dad did it, my sisters and my brothers did it, I have friends and colleagues who did it. My children are doing it. If we are doing it, what says you? So in my next video, in another video, I will show you some simple steps how you plan your lives, how we look at values and attitudes. We look at decision making and how we project ourselves, how we plan our lives, how we implement our lives and the things that we want to do to help us to grow. We are going to look at those because your values and your attitude help to determine how successful you are. Okay? So we are going to be doing it. So I want you, if you like where we're heading, I want you to subscribe. Yeah, subscribe to my channel. And if you like, please like. Because we want this channel to go places and want to do things, and we'll be talking more interesting stories because Serena is a storyteller. In fact, I worked with the Ministry of Health for many, many, many years, and I have an awesome book. I have an awesome course coming out very soon, and you're going to be seeing this, you're going to be hearing this. And if you are a consultant or a trainer or a coach, and nothing much is really happening for you, I am going to give you a ready done program that all you need to do, come to my training, get that training, buy the whole package, go and implement in workspaces, workplaces, and I guarantee you will make a lot of money from it. So we're going to be talking about life and life situations and changing the way we see things and how we operate within the spaces that we are allowed to. Sometimes we limit ourselves too much. We have to let go let life and let God. I'll see you again in my next video, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good time. Take care. We'll talk soon. Walk good.